Solving rational equations when we have variables in the denominator. So similarly to the last question, we again want to find a lowest common denominator. Before we want to find our lowest common denominator, you want to look to see if your denominators are in completely factored form, and in this case they are. So I'm first going to talk about my non-permissible value. So you have to consider your non-permissible value in these questions because we have a variable in the denominator. So my non-permissible value would be x cannot equal a positive 3 or a positive 3 over 2. All right, now I want to find my lowest common denominator. So similarly to the last question, an x minus 3 and a 2x minus 3 are completely two different factors or expressions. So I actually want to consider both of these as my lowest common denominator. Okay. So what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to take this entire fraction and I'm going to multiply it by my entire lowest common denominator. And so when I do that, these are going to cancel each other out. So what I'm left with is a 2x minus 3 times a 2x plus 1 minus, I'm now going to take this fraction and multiply it by my entire denominator. And what happens in this case is this will cancel that out, and I'm left with a 4x minus 1 times an x minus 3. So as you can see, what we're doing when we solve rational equations is we're actually eliminating that denominator. And by eliminating that denominator, you're multiplying every fraction by what your lowest common denominator is. All right, so to solve this equation, we now want to FOIL this and FOIL this to expand. So we're going to get a 4x squared plus a 2x minus a 6x minus 3. Okay. I'm going to FOIL this as well. Because this is a minus, I'm going to keep this minus here and keep all of this expanded form inside my brackets for now. 4x squared minus 12x minus 1x plus 3. I'm now going to collect like terms. I'm still going to keep this inside my brackets for right now. Now I'm going to run that negative through my set of brackets. So this becomes a negative 4x squared plus 13x minus 3 equals 0. So again, we're going to collect our like terms. So a 4x squared and a negative 4x squared, well, those are just going to cancel each other out. A negative 4x and a positive 13 would be a 9x. A negative 3 and a negative 3 would be a minus 6. I'm now going to solve this. Again, we get a linear equation, so I'm going to move my 6 to the other side of the equation. It becomes a positive. I'm going to divide both sides by 9, and then I'm going to write my simplified answer. So my final answer should be x is equal to 2/3. I'm going to go back up to double check that this solution is actually not a non-permissible value, and it's not. So in this case, this solution is okay. Some questions you're going to get where this ends up to be your non-permissible value, and that's when extraneous roots are going to come into play again.